Welcome back to my channel, guys, and today I want to talk about the 4 harsh truths about women that men learn way too late. Number 1, women tend to make decisions based on their emotions, whereas guys tend to make their decisions logically. A lot of times guys don't understand why girls are making these kinds of decisions because guys are critical thinkers and they're more logical, and girls tend to think more with their heart and tend to be more emotional. So sometimes when girls make decisions, it can seem really irrational or it doesn't make any sense to you logically, but to them, because they're leading with their emotions, it makes sense. And this can be quite confusing for guys because if you're not thinking like this, then anything a girl does doesn't really make sense. For example, maybe a guy has hurt a girl and she continues to stay with him. And logically, that doesn't make sense. But emotionally, she's wrapped up in it and she's staying. And guys can do this too, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of times that girls do things like this where it's very emotional or they're staying in situations that you guys don't understand. They're looking at it only from a perspective of emotion instead of being like, hey, logically, this doesn't make sense. This is also the case with red flags. Typically, girls can get into relationships, and this also happens with guys, but typically girls get into relationships that are really bad and they stay and they pretend that they don't see any of the red flags, or they just don't see them because they're so caught up in their emotions about how much they like the guy, and logically, it's not a healthy relationship for them to be in. Number 2 is women will take advantage of weak men. So I found this study and I wanted to read it to you guys. A 2019 Foodie Call study suggested that as many as 1 in 3 women have been on a date just for the free food. It's likely that just as many allows nice guy to buy them drinks at a club or become their friends to provide emotional support and do them favors. This is the harsh truth. If you're a guy that allows girls to walk all over you, if you're a guy that constantly is thrown into the friend zone, girls will take advantage of that. It is wrong and it should not happen, but it does. And I think a lot of guys live in this reality that thinking like, well, she's showing me attention, or we're really good friends, or she always calls me when she has a problem, that one day that you're gonna be the guy she realizes she needs to be with. And I think this is because of Blue Pill and all of the Hollywood movies have kind of portrayed that if you're just continuing to be the nice guy, one day it'll actually work out. And I think this is a really bad headspace to have. 99.9% of the time, it will never work out. And what will happen is you will allow yourself to go through these emotions with these girls, continue to have feelings for her, you'll be strung along, and then after a year, 2 years, the girl finds somebody and it gets in a relationship with someone and you're left alone, sad by yourself. And if you have this knowledge that girls are capable of doing this, even if you don't want to believe it, they do this, that you need to be able to put yourself first. And that's the biggest thing, is if you put yourself first and know your worth, this isn't going to happen. You're not going to let a girl walk all over you. You're not going to be constantly thrown into the friend zone. When guys put girls on pedestals and they pretend that, oh, she'll notice me one day, or if I just keep being there for her, she'll come around. Having this mindset, you're just gonna keep getting hurt and girls are gonna continue to just keep walking all over men. Number 3, girls will test you endlessly. And I wish I could sit here and say I've never done this, but I don't know why we are wired to do this, but we do. And I think it's because we want to see how far we can push a guy to see if he'll walk away or he'll, emotionally be able to handle us. But we do these little tests to see where the boundary is. We might start a stupid fight, or we might say something to see what your reaction is, but we constantly test these lines to get an emotional spike out of you, to feel something, to make sure that you still like us. Again, it makes no sense and we probably shouldn't do this, but we do, and girls do it. And this is something you need to be aware of, that they're constantly going to be testing you. Whether that's a shit test on a date, or even if you've been dating a girl for 3 years, she might throw something out there to see how you respond. Girls are constantly testing to see if you're going to leave them. And I definitely think girls do this out of insecurity, right? I don't think it's a healthy trait, but it's one that guys need to be aware of. And if you aren't aware of it, it can ruin everything, because a girl can just literally say something and then everything crashes and burns. Number 4, women need boundaries. And I think the problem is a lot of guys don't want to set boundaries because A, they're worried they're gonna lose the girl, or B, they don't wanna upset her. But two problems happen when you do not set boundaries properly in a relationship. And this doesn't just go for men, it goes for women as well. Number one is a girl, if there is no boundaries, if you're supposed to be the leader, if you're the guy that's going to take care of her and keep her secure, these boundaries need to be set. Things that you're not okay with her doing, and then she goes out and does them and there's no boundary set, she's going to constantly push you and she's gonna just walk all over you, and she's gonna know that she can do anything and you're not going to set any boundaries. And the problem with this is she's gonna lose respect for you. She's not going to think you're a good partner because she doesn't feel super secure in the relationship because there is no boundaries. And number two, no boundaries in a relationship actually makes a girl feel really insecure. When there is no expectations in a relationship, girls feel really anxious because they don't know whether, oh, this is gonna bother him, or what if it doesn't bother him, or what if nothing bothers him, and then you're always feeling like you're walking on eggshells because you don't know where anyone stands. Boundaries are really healthy because they are expectations. Like, hey, I don't like that you're talking to your ex. That is a clear expectation. Like, you text your ex, we're done, we're broken up. So she knows that is not a boundary she's going to cross. Maybe you don't like a girl going out and partying with her friends on the weekend without you. That is a healthy boundary to have. Why is the girl going out and partying? Well, she's going to talk to guys. These are boundaries you're allowed to have, and you need to be able to voice these boundaries and say, hey, like, I don't want you to do this, and she needs to respect it. And I think the problem with today's society is they think boundaries are really unhealthy. They think that they're misogynistic. They think a guy is controlling for having these boundaries. You are entitled to have any boundary that you want. I think within limits, obviously. Like, if you're like, hey, my girl is not allowed outside the house, well, then we have some issues. But I think if you have a reasonable boundary and you have a reason to why it's a boundary for you, that is okay. That is your boundary. A girl might not respect that boundary, but then that's not a relationship you want to be in. Because if she is not respecting your boundaries, what else is she not respecting? And you have to understand and be willing to let a girl walk away or get rid of a girl if she does not hit that expectation that you have. And I think this is the issue, is society is saying that this is bad, you shouldn't have boundaries, blah, blah, blah. But also all the weak men out there are like, we don't want to set boundaries because we could lose the girl. And it goes back to, that's not a masculine role. You're not leading the relationship. You're just being weak. You're doing stuff out of fear because you're afraid she's gonna leave. But if you can understand these 4 things about women, your relationships are going to be a lot healthier. You're gonna understand where women are coming from, and you're also going to be more secure with yourself. And if you want to know more about being a confident guy and what things you shouldn't do around women, you should check out this video right here. It's super helpful and it goes into detail things that you should never do. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next video.